life with Belle. Yeah, I said the live show is starting soon, so keep your YouTubes tuned to Thread Life with Belle. You are watching Thread Life with Belle, live on YouTube starting very soon. So stay tuned, Belle is getting ready for you. Thread Life, starting soon. Thread Life, starting soon. Thread Life with Belle, starting soon. Thread Life, starting soon. You are watching Thread Life with Belle. Her live show is starting soon. Quilting, teaching, sewing, making lovely things. Come on and join us. It's almost time for Thread Life with Belle. Yeah, I said the live show is starting soon, so keep your YouTubes tuned to Thread Life with Belle. You are watching Thread Life with Belle. Her live show is starting soon. Quilting, teaching, sewing, making lovely things. Come on and join us. It's almost time for Thread Life with Belle. Yeah, I said the live show is starting soon, so keep your YouTubes tuned to Thread Life with Belle.
Hi, quilty friends. Oh, well, welcome to Thread Life with Belle. This is my first live YouTube. So I've had this channel for about 3 years, and normally I post edited videos. And last year I decided, you know what? I want to invite people into my studio and be here with me. I'm a bit extroverted, and I thought this is the best way to do it and make things together. So welcome to Thread Life with Belle. I've even got a little mug to kind of kick off the whole thing, and his t-shirt. So welcome, I'm glad you're here with me. So a little bit about today. This is a kind of a two purposed live. One is I need to test all this out. So Quilt Husband kind of put everything together for me. We've got 5 views, 5 camera views for you to be able to see everything I do and make. I have a little controller box over here where I press buttons and it'll change views, or if we need to take a potty break, we have a 2-minute potty break song jingle that my husband made for me as well. So I want to say thanks for being with me, as this is the first time to do all of this live. Now he and I have tried this out behind the scenes, but I want to be able to do it with you all so I can like monitor the chat at the same time and kind of get used to multitasking everything, which I'm not used to doing. So thank you ahead of time for your patience. Also, though, in the midst of doing all of that, I am actually going to be making my very last Friendship Blooms block. So on my design wall right now are hanging 8 of these, and I have one last one to make, and I thought, why not make it with all of you? And it is from my Friendship Blooms pattern here, okay? So I'll show it to you really quick from the overhead view. Let me zoom in for you. Here we go. I'm practicing my stuff. So we'll zoom down here so you can see. There we go. There it is. Friendship Blooms. This is it. And this pattern, if you're interested in it, after watching me kind of do this today, you can click in the description box. It's got the link to all the things I'm using today. You can click that. If you use the coupon code YouTube, then spell that out. You can get 20% off the pattern if you decide you want to buy it, but you don't have to. You don't have to at all. So what we're going to do is first off, say a huge thanks to our sponsors today. So ThermoWeb, you may be familiar with ThermoWeb. They make all kinds of great products, and one of them is called Heat and Bond. Now, I'm sure some of you have probably used it, but they are wonderful as far as one to work with, but also I use the Heat and Bond medium interfacing. It's the fusible for this particular block because we applique a flower on top of the block. So I just showed you. And so they are actually going to, at the very end, if you hang with me to the very end, I'm going to have some giveaways. I'm going to have 3 giveaways. Well, I say 3 giveaways, 3 things to give away to one person so that you can make the Friendship Blooms. I'm going to give away the pattern. I'm going to give away, Heat and Bond is going to give away 2 yards of the fusible interfacing I just showed you. So it will come kind of like this. And then also, my friends at Havells, I'm going to give you their applique scissors because I also use these whenever I am cutting all of my applique for doing fusible. So if you hang with the end, I'm going to pick a winner at the very end. We'll be together probably about an hour. And again, ahead of time, thanks for your patience with me learning all of this together with you. So, I'm glad you guys like the pattern. Thank you, Lori. Hey, Lori, Janelle. I see some of my friends that came to support me today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So the plan is to do this about 3 times a week, okay? I did a poll and I sent an email out to ask people, when is the best time that you like to be on and watch YouTube lives? Fridays was overwhelming, yes. So I'll be doing 1 o'clock on Fridays. And then also Mondays, I'm going to do Mondays at 7 p.m. to catch people maybe that work during the day or, you know, that want to just be in their sewing room and hang out with me while they're maybe making things or we make something together. The third day is up in the air. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, Alice from Scotland. Alice, I'm so glad you're here all the way from Scotland. We've got Robin from Georgia. Yeah, Lori, I love Heat and Bond too. Thank you all so much for coming for this. It's exciting for me. It's a little nerve-wracking. If you see me turn red, one, I'm in menopause. That happened because I had a hysterectomy 6 months ago, but also it could be a little nervous. So I'm with friends. You're going to see raw and unedited all of this, you know, throughout the process. So anyway, big thanks out to Heat and Bond for the giveaway, for sponsoring. I love them. For Havells for the scissors for the giveaway too. And we're just going to have fun together. I just really love people, especially when they're nice. But I will say just a really quick housekeeping on this. This will be posted afterwards. So say you have to leave for some reason, it'll be posted. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click now to subscribe because you'll get alerts whenever I go live with things. And you also can see what's coming up. So I have a YouTube live scheduled for Monday evening at 7, and I'm going to teach you how to make rope bowls. So these are super fun to make. We're going to try switching camera view. And so you can see the rope bowl here. And I put my tag on purpose on the inside because it's my brand logo, but I'm going to show you how to make these on Monday night. So if you want to hang with me, go ahead and go over to the channel here, and you can click on the tab button for lives, and you can hit the little bell and it'll remind you that I'm going live then. So right now, Fridays and Mondays, tell me what you think in the chat about what other day I should do it, maybe during the daytime. So let me know what you think about that. Hey, Lisa. Oh, my friend Lisa from Arkansas is here. Maria from Ohio, and also she's with Checker. Oh, and Lisa, thank you all so much for coming. I'm so excited to have this much support. So we've got, how many people we have on? We've got like 28 people. So I told my husband, I said, if 20 people show up, I'll be really excited. So I want y'all to meet Quilt Husband. This is probably the only time you'll ever meet him. Come on over. Yeah. He actually set all of this up for me. This is Chris. He's my behind the scenes guy. He did all the research for probably 4 months about camera equipment, lighting, all of this stuff that's needed. Oh my gosh, I had no idea how much was involved with all of this. So this is Quilt Husband. You guys give him a round of applause. He's actually going to be monitoring over there to make sure we don't have any trolls that pop in. So apparently what I've learned is sometimes people will pop in and write inappropriate things. They're like bots or robots, and they do all that kind of stuff. So he's going to make sure things stay as clean as possible. But just as far as boundaries and housekeeping, I have a zero hate, bullying, nastiness policy. I do that on my social media, and it'll be on this way too. So I don't tolerate any of that at all. So just kind of to get that out there, not that anyone would do that, but I just want to give that disclaimer. Okay. Okay. How much have you missed? Denise, you haven't missed anything. I'm just doing the intro, going over a little bit of housekeeping, introduced Quilt Husband, who set all of this up for me. And we talked a little bit about the sponsor. So today the sponsor is ThermoWeb. And they are giving away at the end of the show 2 yards of what I'm going to use for the demo today, which is the fusible interfacing. It's the medium weight interfacing. I'm also giving away a pair of really great, these are serrated embroidery scissors from Havells. I use a lot of Havells stuff. I love it. I used their products before I even became an ambassador. So a lot of the stuff I'm using today, if you look in the description box, I've linked all that for you. There's coupon codes for some of them. You don't need to buy any of it if you don't want to, but I wanted to let you know that stuff is there. Okay. So I think we've covered all of the housekeeping. Here's what we're going to do today. So again, this is the block. This is my pattern I released in February. It was at QuiltCon in the Benartex booth. And the fabrics you might be wondering about when I work with these, and you see them in a few minutes, this is called Blushed Houndstooth. And it is from Benartex, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm making a scrappy version of Friendship Blooms, and I have one more block to go. So I want to show people how you can make this block. We're not going to sew curves. This block actually is piecing, and then we applique this pretty little flower on top of our block. So I want to show you how easy it is to do this. And all of my patterns come with tutorials. So I walk you through how to make each block. As someone that may be a visual learner, I know I am as well. So all my patterns have a QR code to scan, and you can learn to make those blocks. But today I wanted to do this with you live because I needed to test out my channel, all the camera views. We've got 5 of them, make sure everything's working correctly, and I can get used to this multitasking thing, making mistakes in front of you, all of that good stuff. Okay, let's see what we've got in chat. Rope bowls, so much fun. Yes, Robin. So the rope bowls, y'all, Monday night at 7 Central Time, I'm going to show you how to make the rope bowls. If you want to get you some rope, it's the 3/16 inch clothesline rope, cotton, and you'll just need some thread, and your machine does need to be able to do a zigzag stitch, and 50 weight thread. That's all you need. So we're going to do that Monday night. Okay. Let's see here in the chat what we've got. Any questions before we get started here? Now, Quilt Husband set this scene up for me. Isn't that fun? Like you guys can see everything that's going on. Okay, Elizabeth. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. I'm so glad you're here from Illinois. And you guys love Heat and Bond. Okay, and some of you have never used it before. And some of you have. So for those of you that haven't, you'll get to see kind of how that works. And those of you that have, it'll just reinforce how great this stuff is, right? Okay, and Chris is actually putting links for ThermoWeb and all of the stuff. He's popping these things in the chat for you all if you're wondering about some of them. Okay. All right, it looks like we've got all of that there, and thanks for telling me where you're from. Some of you have mentioned where you're from, so thanks for there. I am in West Central Arkansas in the Ouachita National Forest, and I am in the middle of rain, so I do want to let you know we've had rain on and off. We're having a lot of flooding, so hopefully this is going to hold off until a little bit later so we don't lose one another with the internet connection and all of that, but I wanted to give that quick disclaimer. All right, well, let's get started. So I'm going to change the camera view to where you're getting the overhead view, and I've got this little remote controller here, and I can zoom in and zoom out. So be patient with me as I am kind of getting used to all of this stuff. Okay, can you all see the area I'm going to be working in? Then I think you should see me up in the corner too, hopefully, so we can see each other and you can see what I'm doing. Okay, first off with Friendship Blooms. This is a confident beginner pattern, and those are the types of patterns that I really enjoy. I still consider myself a confident beginner as well. I just like pretty easy, but I'm often told that even advanced quilters like to make these patterns. So if you're an advanced quilter, maybe you'll want to make this one. If you're a beginner, you can make it. When you get Friendship Blooms, it comes with the downloadable PDF, and you cut out the flower. These are the templates. And then you trace them onto cardstock. So I use the cardstock now that it's traced to be able to make these flowers, okay? So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that. I've already got the heat and bond pieces cut. So this larger one here will actually be used with the flower. And then the smaller piece here we'll be using for the flower center, which is kind of a rounded cornered hexie. You could make them if you wanted to be really straight when we sew them under the machine, but you don't have to. So we're gonna use that. We're also gonna use our pieces we've got cut out as well. And then I've got the units ready to go. We're gonna sew these together under the sewing machine. I'm gonna show you how to sew these units together here. So those are all ready to go. So we'll sew the block and then we'll sew the flower on top of that, okay? All right, let me move the prizes out of the way here. And we're gonna get started. So if you have a rotating cutting mat, it can be helpful for doing applique, particularly the kind of applique that I'm going to show you. But if you don't have one, that's totally okay. The one I'm using, Sew Tots sent me. It is their magnetic rotating cutting mat, and I tell you, those magnets make it super helpful whenever you are kind of having to just spin the mat and trace around things. So you'll see me use that today. All right. First off, what we're going to do, we're going to lay out our units, and I sewed part of the units together for the sake of time. And in this pattern, I used the flip and stitch method. The view's great and your sound is great. Okay, thank you from ThermoWeb. That's my friend Dawn. So thank you, Dawn, for letting me know that it's going so well, and thank you so much for your sponsorships. Somebody bought my number and alphabet clips recently. Thank you so much. Yep, y'all are wondering, what are these little clips? These are my jumbo alphabet and number clips, and they come in these little tins here. They slide open and you've got your numbers and your letters. So those are in the description box too, if you're wondering about those. I used to hand make them, and I literally would list them, and then I would list like maybe 30, and then they would be gone within like 12 hours. So I had to start having them manufactured. But we'll see how that goes with all the tariff stuff. If I can find a factory, which I could not here stateside before, to make those. So I do have some for now, just to let you know in case you want them. Okay, so I'm just gonna actually lay out, this is how this block is gonna go together. And what we're gonna sew, these units have to be sewn together here, okay, these two pieces. So you see they're flying geese, but they're not made the traditional way. I like the stitch and flip method, and so I use that a lot. It's really helpful for confident beginners in particular. So let's see here, get these, always have to pay attention. There we go. So these are going to go like this, is how they're laid out. And I will take them over to the sewing machine and I'll show you that view in a second. We're going to sew these units together right here, and then we're going to sew our rows together. And then we will put the applique flower on there. So here's what this is going to look like. This is how you're going to lay all that out there. You can see that. And I might need to move it over because the little box of me might be in the way a little bit. I'll move all this over just a hair so you can see that better. All right. Have any of you used the stitch and flip method? Is that something that you've used? Do you like it, or do you prefer to use the traditional flying geese method? I'd be curious to know what you like on that one. Okay, so here we go. So this is what this is going to look like. So right now I'm going to leave everything here, and I'm going to take my units over to the sewing machine. I'm going to switch views with you. One, so I can practice the camera, and two, to show you how quickly this can kind of come together. All right, so I'm just going to leave everything else here. I'm going to grab these, and we're going to go over to my sewing machine, and we're going to stitch these together. All right, so over here, oh, stitch and flip. I'm glad you asked about that. So stitch and flip, let me come back over there and I'll explain it to you. So stitch and flip is basically whenever, for example, on this piece right here, we've got a rectangle. You take your squares and you lay a square on one side and you stitch diagonally. You'll flip it over and press. And then after you do that, you'll put another square on the other end here, like this. You'll lay them right sides together, stitch, and then flip open and press. And that makes your cheater, basically I call it a cheater flying geese. I've done it the other way too, but I find that for beginners, and especially too for me when I was starting out, I found these to be easier. And actually they don't get as warped, I don't think, this way. I use starch for the most part for most things. But anyway, I've found that's an easier method. So hopefully that is helpful. Someone said, okay, Janelle said she uses both depending on the pattern instructions. Yeah, and I've done it the other way where you can make, you know, multiple flying geese at a time. But again, this one particularly, I did the flip and stitch, so it would be a little bit easier for beginners. Lori uses both. Yeah, Maria. So Maria was one of my testers. And if you go on my website and look at the pattern, Maria's version is all these beautiful shades of purple. She did the very large lap size. I think I might have probably 14 versions on there of Friendship Looms that you can see all the different patterns. There's a scrappy version. There's 1 block versions, 2 block versions. So if you want to see some of those examples, you can pop there on my website and see those. Such a clever way of making flying geese. Yeah, I didn't invent this. Someone else did, but I definitely really like that method. So thanks for asking about that. And so let's go over to the sewing machine. Now, some of you might be wondering, we've got a view from the back, so you can see when things are coming out the back. Now, I have a gap right now on the back of the sewing machine. I'm going to zoom out and show you. And the reason why is because, let's see here if I can zoom out. It's not letting me zoom out. Okay, let me tap it. Okay, there we go. There's a gap back here. That's because I just got this sewing machine table about a week ago. We got it put together. It's an Aero Sydney XL. It's got this hydraulic lift for the sewing machine, and my insert won't be here for 3 weeks. So I actually used the extension tray that's in here. So if y'all are wondering why this is rigged, that's what's going on with it. It's rigged for now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to sew these together. So let me make sure. Now, something y'all should know about me, I have a little bit of dyslexia. So I was nervous about doing lives because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I make mistakes in front of them? And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to be me, and if it happens, it happens. So I go ahead and I like to lay these out so that I know the direction. So I'm just going to turn them this way and I'll put them over to the side. And that way I make sure I get them stitched correctly. So we're going to take our first 2 here. And the machine I'm stitching on is the Juki. It is the DX4000, and it came with all these feet. So I'm going to put my piecing foot on right now because that will give me a perfect 1/4 inch. Have y'all ever used the piecing foot before? This is what it looks like. You can get generic ones for your machine, but I really like them. It has this little thing here right there, and it keeps your fabric butted right up against it. So we're gonna just lower that and click that on there. Let me see if people have any questions. Oh, thanks, Josh. Yeah, Josh is here. So Josh had a huge quilt at QuiltCon, and it's this huge circle. Josh, I forget what it was called. Forgive me. It's like the red moon or something like that. It's beautiful. Thanks for joining. Okay, so now I use a knee lift. If you're wondering, oh, I can see your hands really well. I'm using a knee lift here, and we'll zoom in. Okay, there we go. All right, we're getting a little closer. I'm going to put my needle down. And again, I'm using the 1/4 inch foot. And I'm just going to chain piece these together. And it just stays butted like right up against the foot there, which is really nice. And I'm just going to grab 2 more. I'll put them right sides together. Do y'all chain piece? I didn't know what it was for probably the first, I don't know, maybe year I was quilting. And then I was like, oh, this saves so much time. So whenever I am designing a pattern, I try to do chain piecing whenever I can because it goes so much faster. You like that piecing foot, Josh? Yeah, okay, it's the Red Giant. Yeah, Red Giant, that's it. I even have one of these 1/4 inch piecing feet for my featherweight. So when we go camping, or sometimes if we go stay somewhere where we drive and we'll stay at a cabin, I'll take my featherweight. And I actually have a generic one for my featherweight. I love it so much. You don't have to you really don't have to think. You just let the fabric stay right up against the foot and you're just good to go. Now I will use sometimes washi tape. You'll see it when I have to change. I'm going to be changing this plate in front of y'all when we get to appliquing the flower on here. But I just find this foot is just so helpful. Okay, last one. And then we're going to cut these apart. And then we're going to get our rows sewn together. So here we go. I'm going to cut that. And then I use this handy little flower. And you put your used rotary blades in there. It's a basically a cutter for when you're doing chain piecing, and you just whoop like that and it cuts them apart. There's different kinds, but this one's super cute, but that's a good way to use your old rotary blades. All right, so now we're going to go over to the pressing station, and we're going to press these open according to the directions. So let's go over to the pressing station here and press these out. Now I'm going to double check, because you know what's crazy, when you write your own patterns, sometimes you still have to double check the direction on here. And this is just an example to show you all kind of the inside of the pattern, so you can see I have the QR codes, and then I also put which direction you should place and all of that stuff. So let's double check. We are pressing on these units, press towards the bottom. All right, double check that there. So the bottom are these. So I'm gonna flip these around like this. Now I like to press my seam to set it. And then you all know this. I didn't know this for quite some time when I was very first learning to quilt. You don't iron it, you just press it. You just kind of gently do that. And I'm going to use a little starch. It kind of keeps everything in place. Now, technically, you're not really supposed to use any type of liquid on the wool mats. This is the new Novadon mat, wool mat. But I have to tell you, using a wool mat has been a game changer for me because it traps the heat. So right now when I'm pressing like this, this is heated really hot from here. It heats the back side and the front side of your units there when you're pressing your seams. And so it's really nice because you're going to get flatter seams that way. So we'll give it a little press here. All right. Now I have to tell y'all something funny. My husband put together a little jingle called Be Right Back because sometimes the FedEx delivery driver shows up, which he did just now. He's here. And if I was in here by myself doing this and he is ringing the doorbell and I'm in the middle of a live, I can say to you guys, hey, someone just showed up at the door. I've got to answer it really quick, or if I have to go to the restroom. And it's a little Be Right Back Belle jingle. So I do have that as like a quick bio break or easy escape. So FedEx is here, and sometimes he actually walks right into my studio. I think he thinks I'm like open to the public. So I've learned to have to lock my door whenever I'm doing lives so that he doesn't walk in. And I even have a little sign that says, do not disturb, recording in process. Okay, so there we go. We've got all of those pressed. So now let's go over and we're gonna assemble these rows. All right, how am I doing? I'm remembering to press all the buttons. So my husband, we practiced this twice of making sure that I click the button every time I go to a new station. So I think I'm doing all right. Okay, let's see what we've got here in chat. All right, okay. Oh, great. Now we've got 43 people here. I'm glad y'all are joining me. I'm so excited. For the first time to go live, I was like, I don't know, maybe 5 people will show up. So thanks y'all for coming. Okay, here we go. So we've got everything laid out. We've got the first row, we've got the second row, and we've got the last row here, all right? So what I like to do, so I don't have to keep going back and forth, is, and you all may do this as well, I'll just take one row and stack them on top of each other. Take another row, stack it on top. Take another row, stack it on top. And then I'm going to take all 3 of these rows over to the sewing machine. And that way they're just all there for me, ready to go to be able to piece these together. All right, and I'm going to set them over to the side here. We're going to start with this unit here, the first row. And I am a pinner. How about y'all? Do any of you not pin? I think it can be considered a little bit like rebellious if you don't, but I do like to pin to get everything lined up correctly. I find if I don't pin, I have a harder time nesting everything. So I like these. These are silicone pins. And if you accidentally iron over it, whoops, they won't melt. So I like to pin first that seam, and then, you know, the whole fudging where you have to kind of sometimes slightly stretch the end a little bit for it to all line up. Sometimes I have to do that too. All right, so let's pin this. I'm not sure I'm crazy about, y'all tell me, is this too close? Is the camera too close to my foot? Do you like it to be further away, or do you like it to be really close? Because I feel like my hands kind of are in the way when I do that. So tell me in the chat what you think about if you want it to be zoomed out, or if you really want to be able to see up close everything. I feel like it might be just a little too close, but we'll see what everybody says in chat. I also am not one that likes to sew over pins. I did that one time, Now I say all this because you need to do you. You need to do what works for you. But I did one time and it broke and it flew up and hit me in the cheek. Scared me to death. So now I don't sew over pins. Okay. Let's see. You like it as it is, as far as the camera view. You like it zoomed in, Denise. Okay. It's a good distance to the camera. Okay. All right. Well, I'll leave it here then if you like that. I mean, I know you can see the back of the camera or the back as well. So just let me know what you think, because part of this is a test run and I definitely need y'all's feedback on, you know, what's a good view. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pin these seams together here. And then we'll stitch this row together. Do I back stitch when piercing? Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this machine. No, the machine does it. This machine is the Juki DX4000. I just got it about 3 weeks ago from Sewing Machines Plus, my friends there. I do some demos and some work for them, and they sent me the machine. And the cool thing about this machine is it can be a straight stitch, like they're kind of industrial Juki, or you can put on the other plate that has more of the opening there to be able to do decorative stitches, embroidery, and all of that. Well, one of the settings, you can decide what you want it to do when it starts out sewing. So mine has a lock stitch. So it actually locks the first stitch whenever I am stitching. You also can set it to do where it doesn't do that at all if you don't want. You can set it to do a reverse stitch where it actually stitches forward and then reverses. And so you can program all that. And I'll do, at a later time, I'll do a tutorial on this machine, but I think there's a link actually in the description box to this machine on Sewing Machines Plus, and you can read all of like the specs. I actually have an unboxing of it. But no, Denise, I don't backstitch. The machine does it whenever I do that, which, let's see. I'm trying to read the chat. So I also have a tablet over here to the side of me, y'all, so I can still read chat when I'm not up there at my cutting station. But keeping up with chat, oh my goodness, I didn't realize there would be like so much multitasking involved, but I'll get used to it. I promise. I'll get used to it, especially since y'all seem like a really patient bunch. Okay, now we're going to put on the second part of the unit, and then we'll do our last row, and we can stitch this together and then work on the flower. So I started out sewing on, and I still have it, and I love it. I have a straight stitch Juki. It's a TL, it's a semi-industrial. All it does is a straight stitch, and I love that machine. And it's actually set next to me as well. Well, I decided, you know, I really want to be able to do like some applique stitches and some decorative stitches and things like that. I need to do a zigzag stitch like to make my rope bowl. And I've not been able to do that. So I knew I wanted a computerized machine that could do a little bit more now that, you know, I've had that other machine for, I guess, 5 years now. And so anyway, I just got this one and I really do love it. I'm also still getting used to it a little bit. There's still some things about it that I'm not 100%, don't have it memorized. I have to like look at the manual and kind of double check it all. But so far, oh my goodness, you'll get to see me in a minute when I change the plate out. Right now I have the straight stitch plate. And it's the only sewing machine that when you change out your plate, it has special feed dogs. It has feed dogs for the straight stitch, and then it has feed dogs for when you have the plate that has more of the open, kind of the little jelly bean, I call it. So yeah, it's super handy. Isn't practice a prerequisite for being a quilter? Yeah, seriously. Well, and I've been a little nervous, Susan, because I'm like, man, when I do all of this live, it's like mistakes, everything, coughing, all of that, getting stuff where I have to unpick it. Like that could totally happen with y'all. But I don't know. You know, I've just kind of learned that people like transparency, you know, the good and the bad and all of that. I mean, I'm gonna try not to make too many mistakes so it's not like boring, but it could happen. You never know. Well, so for example, right now, the bobbin thread, looks like the bobbin thread, maybe, nope, it's not out. We'll see what happened. Oh, it came unthreaded. Okay, so I'll show you, well, since you're here with me, I'm gonna show you how this works. So it came unthreaded. So you literally slide it up through, this is a number 7 right there. And then you wrap it around the back. So there's a spot on the back. And then you just press this lever on the side of the machine. But it only works if the presser foot is down, which it wasn't. It's kind of crazy. Isn't it funny how you'll be like making mistakes when you know people are watching you, and when no one's watching you, sometimes you don't make as many. I think that's what might be happening a little bit. Okay, there we go. It's rethreaded. So we're going to go back in here. Yeah, it just came unthreaded for some reason, so we'll thread that back. All right. Now, some people might be wondering about my sticker here, the Seam Sew Me retreats. So I have a retreat center here in Arkansas. We're going to go over to the pressing station now. And I live in very, very rural Arkansas. Very rural Arkansas. So the town I'm in is 1,000 people, but the whole county is like, I think maybe 9,000, something like that. And it's in the middle, make sure I've got this here. It's in the middle of the Ouachita National Forest on rivers and lakes. And so the retreat center is 10 miles from me on the property where I grew up. My dad is there. And actually there's 2 Airbnbs. So one of them, when it's not used as a retreat center, is used as an Airbnb. And so we opened that. It was literally right before my hysterectomy this last fall. So if you're curious about it and wondering about my sticker there, I would love to host you here in Arkansas. You get a pie. I make a homemade pie for you when you come. And you just kind of have a group coordinator. And I communicate with the group coordinator, and you bring all your quilt besties. And I have 14 sponsors. So all your stuff is there. The pressing stations, the Eliso irons, the AccuQuilts, I mean, all the things are there. So you don't have to bring really anything but your sewing machine and your fabric. And I even have a little notion shop in there. And if you forget something, you know, it's like Scout's Honor kind of thing. But anyway, it's on 45 acres, and there's like an outdoor pavilion, and you can go up to the bluffs. And if you're a subscriber to Quilt Folk, I and the retreat center was featured in this month's edition. So if you get that, it'll come in the mail. I think they start mailing them next week, maybe on the 15th. So you can see a little bit more about that. Okay, so we're gonna go here, and I'm gonna go ahead and pin this together up here at the cutting table. So we've got our rows sewn together like this. And then I'm just going to flip it over, right sides together. And again, like I said, I'm a pinner. So we're going to pin this here. And I had to be careful. Last time I was trying this, my husband's like, you can't bend over too far because all your hair is going to be in there. So I'm trying to be conscious of not doing that. You know, I watch YouTube quite a bit. I used to watch it a lot more when I was learning to quilt. And I have a whole new appreciation for all of those people that do live shows. I had no idea what all was involved with having all these amazing camera views and remembering like to change views and how to handle when mistakes happen and all of that. So yeah. Okay, let's go stitch this row together, and then we'll stitch the last one, and then we're going to start working on the flower that we're going to applique on top of there. So I like raw edge applique, and I like the fuse method with the fusible. I don't do needle turn applique, I say yet. I think it's more of a patience thing for me, but I will say I have my very first quilt on a loom right now, or on an embroidery hoop, sorry. And I am attempting to hand quilt with big DMC thread, my very first quilt. I was like, it's a goal. I have such an appreciation for people that hand quilt entire quilts, especially some of the beautiful ones I've seen from, you know, way back in the day. I was like, I have to do this at least once. One time I have to do this. So that is a goal of mine. All right. Do any of you guys, let me look here in the chat. Oh, thanks, Janelle. Okay, I'm glad I'm doing a fantastic job because I'm a little bit nervous. So I'm glad it's going good. Susan, you grew up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Oh, I bet that's beautiful. I've always lived in mountains, believe it or not. So I left here in Arkansas. I left when I was 18. Went off to college here in the state, and then finished up college in Washington State on an island called Whidbey Island in the Puget Sound. And so I've always been a traveler. My grandmother started me traveling when I was 5, and lived there for a while. And so there were, of course, mountains. You know, there are Mount Rainier and all that pretty stuff, except I didn't love the rain. I had a tough time with the rain. So from there, I moved to Denver, and I love Denver, although I will say I never could get acclimated to the elevation. I was constantly dehydrated, but it was such a healthy city. I mean, people were always outside and exercising and all of that. So I really did enjoy that. I'm going to have to fudge this one a little bit because it's going to want to be a little short. One of my seams was off a little bit. So Denver. And then I lived in Huntsville, Alabama. So the Appalachian Trail was kind of close to there. And we had Monte Sano there. So that was really nice. But this, you know, this is home. I was gone for 30 years. We just moved back here a year and a half ago. And I love it. It's just relaxing here, and you know, I don't know. When you get older, I think that what happens is you have an appreciation for where you grew up more. I'll be 50 this month, and it's just kind of nice to go back where I grew up, and things are simple. I tell you, when we moved here, we were in Springfield, Missouri, where my husband's from before, and we save $1,000 a month living here in this rural area than we did in Springfield. I was like, oh my goodness. Cost of living was getting pretty expensive there. So, okay. I'm open for feedback too. If you feel like I'm talking too much, you can tell me. You won't hurt my feelings. I don't get my feelings hurt easily. But at the same time, I don't like love silence when we're like together like this. So you just kind of tell me. So we've got this all sewn together, and I'm just going through and pressing my seams flat. We're pressing towards the middle. So we're pressing towards the middle here, and getting them really flat is really important for this block, making sure you don't have any fabric hung up on the sides there. So I'm going to use some starch, because when we applique our flour on here, we want this to be nice and flat. So I'm going to give it a good spray with my starch and make sure it's stiff. I know, who is it? It's, Oh, my hair's in the way. My quilt husband said my hair's in the way. I got to be careful not to bend over. See, these are all the things I have to learn to be conscious of. So thanks for hanging in there with me, y'all. Is it Kimberly Jolly, Fat Quarter Shop? She, like, uses a, oh, what is it called, where you dry your clothes on, one of those racks, and like sprays hers really heavily. And I don't do that much starch, but I do like to get everything really flat with this block. So if you're like, oh, you're ironing and pressing, it's just because I want to make sure everything is really good and flat before we do our Friendship Blooms block. Okay, looks like we're good to go. So there we go. There is the Friendship Blooms. Make sure I don't have anything reversed. Wouldn't that be embarrassing the first time to have it all reversed? I'm on here. Okay, here we go. So there we go. That is our Friendship Blooms block. Let's see. Oh, you appreciate the conversation. Thank you, Dawn. Okay, well, I'm glad you like that. Lori relocated to Tennessee from upstate New York 10 years ago, and they save over $15,000 a year in taxes. Oh my goodness, Lori. Woo, that is wild. Yeah, I mean, you know, we have to do what we have to do, right? I mean, my husband and I, we are huge yard sellers and flea marketers. So a lot of my clothes and stuff, I get secondhand. We love to buy used. I grew up doing that. So when I was little, on Sundays, mom and dad would take us to, well, it's called Hot Springs, which is about 35 miles from here. And we would do thrift stores and flea markets and stuff. And I never felt any shame about it. But I know my little, some of my friends get a little embarrassed about that stuff, but I don't really care. I'm all about saving money, and you know, used clothes can be good. Now, I don't do the used underwear or used swimsuits, so that I do have some limits there with that. But okay, so now we are going to start using our heat and bond, and I'm going to show you how to make the applique flower. So first off, again, you don't have to have this rotating cutting mat, but if you have it, have one. I have a square one, and then Sew Tight sent me this one. So I didn't buy this, just to let you know, it is a splurge. And it's in the description box if you are interested, in it. I think you can use the code Belle15 and get 15% off, but it's got these magnet boosters, and I'll show you why I do love those. So the first thing you're going to do, I actually just do right sides together. So you've got your fabric piece here. This is going to be the little center part of our flower. And this is the bumpy side here, okay? Bumpy side goes down on top of your fabric. And that is actually a little bit too big. So I'm going to cut this down. We'll cut that down here. My other favorite tool here is my Havel's rotary cutter, and that's because this little protective guard right here, as soon as I'm done with it, it goes back in its home and I don't accidentally cut my finger. So I do love that. I like notions, y'all. I mean, if they work and they help me do things more effective, I'm all about good notions. Okay, now we've got that cut down a bit better. So there we go. We've got our pretty side and then our bumpy side. This is the glue side, all right? So we're going to set that on top of there like this. And then I'm going to take my template here. And with this template, I'm going to set it and center it. Make sure that I've got an even amount of room all the way around. Now watch this. These are magnets. It doesn't come off. It stays. So now I can concentrate on drawing a good line around it. So I use the Clover. This is water soluble. If you get, I don't know if it'll be in the Quilt Folk magazine or not, but if you end up getting that, I told the story about using a friction pen for the first time when I was a new quilter, and I ruined a quilt of mine, and the marks are still there because after you wash and you dried it, when it gets cold again, the marks came back. So I forever will never use a friction pen. I only will use this because you spray water on it and it goes away. Now that's just me, but oh, Lori, you like yard sales too? Oh, good. I'm glad to know there's some other people. We love it. We love yard sales. All right, so that is the helpful part of having that magnetic cutting mat, but you don't have to have it. I'm also all about if you can't afford it or you don't really feel like you would use it, don't buy it. Okay, so then we're just going to pin that there. So it is pinned. Now we're going to do the same thing for our cute little flower. So we're going to put our fabric down. Again, this is blushed Houndstooth. And we're going to do bumpy side down like this. And this doesn't have to be precise. It's fine if the heat and bond hangs over a little bit because we're going to be cutting this off. But pretty much I've got it centered. So now you're going to take your template and you're just going to make sure you've got at least 1/4 inch all the way around. And I'm going to use my magnets. Now, if you don't have your magnets and you're trying to do this just on a regular cutting mat, you need to keep your hands on it. Or if you have pattern weights, you could use pattern weights. You can go to the hardware store and just get those little washers, the heavy washers, and you could use those for weights if you want. But I tell you, since I've been doing applique and making several of these, this is really come in handy. So I like it. So then I just get my clover marking pen. And as I turn it with one finger and just go around just kind of slowly. And you're going to trace your flower all the way around. So we're going to do this the exact same way that we did before. Lisa, you need one of these? Is that what you're saying? Gosh, you know what happens to me? I see things, I'm like, oh, I need that. And I'm usually pretty good about not buying things that I know I wouldn't use. That's why sometimes I like quilt shows. You can kind of try things out and see, if you like them or not. But I thought, you know what? I think this is going to be a good friend of mine. Then you just move them out of the way. So we've got that traced there. So I'm going to put these out of the way. And then I like to use just really 2 pins. I just gently lift it up. I'll pin kind of at the top petal. And then I'm going to pin here at the bottom petal. Keep that flat. I'll turn this around. Keep it nice and flat. You're fusible there. Okay, so we've got both of them here and ready to go. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off my straight stitch plate and I'm going to put on my open plate because, well, I'm not going to do it like right now, but in a few minutes after we stitch around these, I will, because we're going to have to applique this too here, and I want to use an applique stitch. So you're going to see me do that in just a minute. So let's go on over and stitch this down on each of these. Now, you don't want to be doing this super fast. And if you have a knee lift, it can be really helpful so you can have both hands free, but you don't have to have a knee lift. I just changed out my foot to put my piecing foot on there because I don't want the edge of that patchwork, that 1/4 inch foot to get in my way. So I'm just using my knee lift, and I'm going to come down on the blue line there that I drew. And remember, this does a lock stitch, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think you're going to have to worry so much about a lock stitch on this one because this is going to be turned right side out, and then we're going to press it down to our block. But if you want to, you can. So you just are just going to, and when I lift up, my knee lift, when I let go, like when I let my knee off the knee lift, the presser foot lifts up automatically so I can pivot. I feel like I'm driving a Cadillac. Like it's really fancy. I never imagined having a machine this nice, but my friends there at Sewing Machine Plus, Blaine is the CEO there, and he's from Arkansas, believe it or not. He's from Jonesboro. They are the largest online sewing machine company in the country, and they are so nice. They're like a little family. But anyway, I told him this was the machine that I really thought I would use. And so I'm a Juki lover, although I do have a Baby Lock Sashiko, which, just to let y'all know, I get so many people when they see my reels about that machine, they all want to know about it. So if you don't know what the Baby Lock Sashiko is, it replicates a hand stitch, and I'll be doing some lives with that machine to show y'all how that works. So I've got that. I've got the Juki straight stitch that I've had for 5 years. My husband bought me a little vintage featherweight he found for like $200, like on a Facebook market, I think, which was a steal. And then I have a Little Brother 900. It's a little embroidery machine that will just do things that are only like 4x4. And the reason I got it from my friend's daughter, and it was brand new. The box had been open, but they'd really never used it. And I got it because I wanted to be able to make labels for my quilts and actually embroider the labels rather than use a permanent fabric marker. So I've got that one too. And then do I narrow my stitch length? Oh, it doesn't matter. That's a good question. It doesn't matter on this one because we're going to be turning it right side out and then we're going to be stitching it down. So I have mine set on 2 millimeters right now. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Who asked that one, babe? Janelle? Okay. Yeah. It doesn't matter, but I usually stitch 2 or 1.8 millimeters for mine because it usually when I'm piecing, I believe, this is just me, that it helps really secure your pieces together better when there's less space between your stitches. So for integrity of it, I like a shorter stitch length. So, you know, about 1.8, no more than 2. I usually never do more than 2. The only time is if I'm sewing vinyl. With vinyl, I'll bump it up to like 3. I have like a vinyl foot that I use to show vinyl. So you can see, you just kind of take your time. You go around and you try to keep as much of a curve as you can on this. You don't want to be like where you've got kind of straight angles. You want to just kind of keep a nice curve. But because there are feed dogs under here, you know, you will have a little bit of a pull. So when you get to a certain point, you have to lift your presser foot up to kind of come around to make that smooth, which is what I'm doing here. Because we want these to be really round. And there's a little trick I learned and I forgot to tell you, and I actually forgot to do it myself. And it has to do with when we get down here into these corners. So I'm going to show it to you. This will actually be a teaching moment. When we get down to this corner here, and I pivot, so on the last 2 corners, I got a little distracted. Normally, on the other 2, I just turned it and started sewing. When you get right here, make 1 stitch, and then pivot. And that actually helps with turning this right side out better. Whenever you're turning this flower right side out, it helps in those little corners. And I forgot to do that. These were the things I was kind of worried about. It's like trying to sew and teach and talk at the same time. And you know what's funny? When I'm teaching, I've taught at some of the national shows. I always still get really nervous because you never know when something's going to go wrong in front of people, right? Everybody's always so loving and kind about it. Okay, we're getting down here to the point there. So I'm just going to take 1 more stitch and then pivot and then come around. We're almost back to where we started. So you can see the flowers aren't like super fast, but they're not hard. You just need to take your time as you go around there and do that. Okay. And then I have a lock stitch there too when I'm done. All right. So we've sewn our heat and bond to this. Now we're going to come back over here and we're going to take out the pins. Okay. There's the rain, y'all. Hopefully electricity doesn't go out because we're getting major. We're supposed to get 7 inches today. We've had tornadoes in the state yesterday. It's been kind of wild here. Oh my goodness, now we're up to 75 people that are here. I'm so excited for my first live. Thank you guys for joining. Let's see. What else we got here? Anybody asking any questions? Okay. So these are the scissors that Havel's actually I have a set here for you. I'm going to give away at the end of the show today, you know, the full set. These have, okay, I'm going to practice zooming. I have this remote control, so I'm going to zoom in. Whoops. And I'm going to let you see, hopefully we'll see how good this shows. The serrated teeth on these things. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Come on, Belle. Straight up. Can you see the serrated teeth there? I didn't realize how important that was rather than slick scissors for applique. So these are applique scissors. I mean, I cut other things with them, but they grab the fabric, and as we're going around corners, these are the Havel scissors. They're in the description box. They keep the fabric from slipping, and you can hear them make this little noise. I don't know if you guys can hear them or not, but we're going to cut a 1/4 inch all the way around both of these. Okay, so 1/4 inch. Great tip on the applique scissors. Yeah, sometimes I have no idea there's certain notions that exist. Like I was talking to Dawn at ThermoWeb. She's here with us today, y'all. I had no idea they sold like paper products for paper crafts, because I only really do things more on the quilting side. They have a whole category of stuff for those of you that like to do, you know, creative things with paper and other stuff. Y'all should check out their website and some of the stuff that they have that I didn't know that they had. So I've been having fun testing that stuff out. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm actually just going around. Since we've got curves, I've learned that it's best to make little slits in the side all the way around, because it will help you turn your pieces right side out. Let's make sure I got all the way around there. Yep, okay, that one's done. Now we're going to do the same for the little flower here. We're going to cut a 1/4 inch. Now here's where you're going to want to pay attention if you decide to make these. And I'll have Quilt Husband in a minute bring over the tote bag so you can see it. But when we get here down to the corner, we're not going to cut all the way down here yet, okay? We're just going to go to about right here, and then we're going to pivot and we're going to turn, and we're going to keep cutting approximately, get it down here, a 1/4 inch all the way around. Then when we're done cutting a 1/4 inch all around these, then we're going to go back and I'm going to show you about cutting in those little slits there, those little grooves, to help us with turning the flower right side out. So again, we're going to go to about right there, and then we're going to pivot and come back around like this. And I don't know, what do y'all do with your scraps? So I have a little, what is it called? Is it called a Longburger basket? Lonneburger. My husband's mom used to collect all those, and she has one that's like really, really tall that she gave me. I put my scraps in there. And I have a friend, I'm a member of the local art gallery, and my friend Lindy makes these really pretty art pillows. And so I save all my scraps and I give them to her. And so even this ThermoWeb, she uses this stuff for her art pillows. So your scraps of this stuff, you can save it if you want to be able to use for like art quilts that you might try to make. So that way you don't have to waste any of it. All right, we're almost done. Getting here to that, all right. Okay, so I'm going to put those in my scrap bin there. Now, we've got these cut out. So we're going to go with our scissors, okay? And remember how I told you it works best if you do one stitch over and then loop around? I forgot to do that on 2 of these. But when you go to cut, you're going to cut all the way up as close as you can. Let me zoom in. Oh boy. Here we go, this remote control. I've tried this remote control so many times, it's going to take me a little bit to get used to it. So I'm going to zoom in real close. Okay. We're going to cut as far as we can all the way down without cutting through your stitches, okay? If you cut through your stitches, bad news bears. The ThermoWeb will kind of come undone from the fabric, and then you'll probably have to kind of redo it. So just go slow and cut all the way down without cutting through your thread there. How are we doing? Okay, Janelle uses serrated scissors and she loves those too. Okay, Robin uses scraps to make kitty beds for local shelters. You know, I've heard of people doing that. We don't have an animal shelter here, but I think it's great as far as sustainability. To do that. I know I have my first fabric collection coming out at Quilt Market this fall, And as a little tip for those of you here to tell you, it's going to be a tribute to where I grew up here. So it's a nature theme. And, oh, what was I going to say about that? You know what? The thought just left my mind. I had some point I was going with that, and now I don't remember what it was. Had something to do, was it with scraps? I don't remember now. Well, anyway, maybe it'll come to me in a minute. Okay, now we're going to make a little slit on the back here of both of these because we're going to need this to turn this right side out. Now, since this is a medium weight, I tried this initially with my testers. I always have testers test my patterns. Then I have a tech editor too. There's nothing worse than getting a pattern that has a lot of mistakes in it. I don't like that. And we tried it with the lightweight. And I found the medium weight was actually better for doing that. So we've got the corners all cut. We've got the slit in the middle. I'm going to make some slits around the curves here like this. Just so when we turn it right side out, it folds really well. How are we doing on time? We're like, what, an hour? Yeah, tell me about y'all. So when I did the survey, some people said they only like to be on for 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I can really get done in 30 minutes live. So I figured mine would be more like an hour or so. But the rope bowl, that didn't take nearly as long. There will be some lives that I do where I'll show you my products that I use, or I'll show you something I'm going to do for the first time that I've not ever tried myself. Like we're going to do it together. But everything from small makes to larger things to just tips I've learned over the way. We'll have just a little bit of everything. I'll just try to surprise you guys. But I'd love to hear in the chat. Oh, thanks, Janelle, on the fabric line. I know it's pretty exciting. I know. I'm actually working on my second one. Now, that one's already done, and it's at the mills to be printed right now. And then the other one I think will come out next summer. But let me know some of the things you guys would like to see on here and make together, or you're curious about. Now, I'm going to use my point turner, and I don't suggest using scissors. I've used scissors, I've used blunt scissors, and it can be real easy to accidentally poke through. So I use a point turner here. And this one is from Modern American Vintage. They're basically heirloom ones that you pass down to, you know, anybody in your family that would be sewing or quilting, which I hope we're passing this down, because if not, it will be a lost art. I know I've taught my little stepdaughter how to quilt. She's made 4 quilts, and it's not something that they're taught in school anymore. I know when I was in high school back in the 80s, we had home ec. And I learned how to use a sewing machine and how to cook and all of those things. We didn't learn how to quilt, but we did learn how to use a sewing machine to make little things. And the kids aren't being exposed to that at all. So I think we have to keep kind of sharing that with them. So anyway, just my little plug for continuing this legacy of this beautiful craft. I think that's the one thing that I regretted, is I did not discover quilting till later in life. It's like all these years that I missed. Now, my mother, she sewed beautiful garments growing up. I mean, beautiful like business suits and dresses and all. But I never learned to do any of that. I didn't really have an interest. I would just wear the things she made me. But I never learned to quilt. Now, my dad's mom was a quilter. But when we would go visit her, she'd put all that stuff up, and she never, really taught me how to do that. So I'm grateful that I have it now, and I'll just make the best of it for the next however many years I have left. I've lived over half my life. I'll be 50 this month. So like I'm on the downside of things, I guess. If I live to be 100, I'm halfway through, but I don't think I will. Okay, so we have now turned this right side out. Again, I don't suggest using sharp scissors because you can accidentally, kind of poke through, even though this is a medium weight. So we've got that one turned out. We're going to do the same thing with the little hexie center here. So just gently, and this will tear a little bit, it'll slightly rip, but it's not a big deal because all the glue is still there. It still stays there. And that's what we need whenever we're going to fuse this or press this down on top of our block. Now, here's the key. You're going to be tempted to be like, oh, I want to smooth all this out. Don't be tempted to press it yet because the glue will get all on your pressing mat and your iron. So I actually am going to use a seam roller to kind of flatten this out a little bit before we put it down on the block, which we're getting closer to the home stretch here for this. So there we go. We've got that one really pressed out nice as well. And it's going to look like this whenever we put it down. Okay, so let's go over now to the pressing station with our block. Susan asked when I can share about my pattern line. I can share some about it now. It's a tribute to the county I grew up in, here where I live, and it is nature themed. So I started, I started the collection a year before Benartex. I had 2 fabric companies that approached me and asked if I wanted to be a designer, and I had been sketching and doing some watercolor for a year previous, just in case someday I ever thought maybe I would pitch myself to design fabric. And literally out of the blue, within 2 months of each of the offers, I had 2 companies message and asked if I wanted to do it. So it was like a dream come true. And then I had to make a decision, and I'm close with both companies. I was a maker for one of them, Maywood Studio. When I first started quilting, I was a maker with them and all. And then Benartex also, offered me. And so I love them both very much. And it was a hard decision, but I ended up going with Benartex, which some of you may know, they are part of Bernina and also Brewer, which is a distributor. So let me just kind of tell you what I'm doing here. I'm using, this is also Modern American Vintage. It is a seam roller. And if you don't want to use your iron, or you can't, like right now, you actually can just use this. And he hand makes these. Chris he's out of Tennessee. He's a one-man show. He is a masterful carpenter. And these are like heirloom quality. So there's something you kind of pass down, and I love them. So that's what I'm doing there with these as I'm talking to you. We're just going to kind of press these down, get them all nice and flat before we press them to our block here. And if you notice, I also have a chopstick. If you notice you're kind of over here and you missed a little spot, sometimes I'll use a chopstick if I need a smaller point to do that. Okay, back to the fabric. So it will hit fabric shops late winter, early spring. And like I said, so there's some artwork in there that's kind of a scene about where I grew up. And I love where I grew up. I grew up on 45 acres, and I'm in the quartz crystal capital of the world. So we have a lot of crystals here. So there's a little something in there about that, and little animals and lots of flowers and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited about it. So that'll release then. And then the next collection is all about love, and that will release in the summer of next year. Okay, so this is all pressed out, and now what we're going to do is we're going to find our center. So the first thing we're going to do is find the center of our block, and the way to do that, y'all may already know this, is you're just going to take your block, and you actually can use your iron to do this, and you're just going to press here, make a little crease, and then we're going to turn it, and we're going to press again and make another crease, and this is going to help us find the center. Now you could totally eyeball this. I'll be honest, as I've made this quilt a few times now, I've actually eyeballed them, but I'll tell you the very first time I did not, and so I want to make sure you know the right way. So here's the center. I'm not sure if you can see that really well or not, but there's a little intersection right here where I've made that. So we're going to do the same with this, but remember, don't use your iron because this is glue. This is the bumpy side that's out now of the ThermoWeb, the heat and bond. So this is where I'm going to use, again, the seam roller. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to use the seam roller And I'm just going to press a crease. And then I'm going to flip it here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now the crease won't be quite as prominent because it's not an iron, but you can still see it there. You can still see it. So now what we're going to do, you see we've got our lines here and here. You're going to line up, and that's how you find your center, is you'll line up these lines where this is a full line that goes straight across, and then you've got your line that goes right down the center here. So just kind of maneuver that. Make sure you like where it's at and that it's centered. Okay, now we are going to press. All right, so make sure you read your instructions on any of your ThermoWeb heat and bond stuff on what to do with that, but we're going to have to, I like to use the larger iron. For this one, I'm not using any steam, but I like to use my larger Aliso iron because it covers more of an area on here. But you're going to hold this down for approximately 10 seconds is what I have to do. And I kind of just, the first time around, I just kind of get it pressed out, you know, nice and flat. You might have a little wrinkle or two that you'll have to kind of press out. But let me show you here. So you see how nice one? This is the one I did one stitch over and then I pivoted and came around. Same on this one. This is the two that I forgot to do one stitch over and come around. So there's a little bit of a ridge there that I kind of have to iron out. Now it won't be a big deal because when you wash this quilt after it's appliqued, you're not going to notice that at all, especially once it's been quilted. But I did want to tell you that little tip, and I had forgotten to do that with you, so just in full transparency. And so what's nice about the ThermoWeb, what I like about this heat and bond, is that if I don't have time or I don't want to applique this down, which I'm going to today, but if I didn't have time, the glue keeps this in place. So like I could get all of these ready if I wanted and take them to a retreat and just applique all of them while I'm at a retreat or a different day. I can move them and these flowers are not going to fall off because you could pin them, but the thing about it is, I mean, you could use regular fabric, I guess, on the back and do what we just did, but they're going to shift and they're going to move on you. And so this keeps it in place. You see, that is stuck like glue on there. Although once you wash it and all, you're not going to feel any of that stiffness or anything like that. Okay, so now we've got the flower center here. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to use my seam roller. And I'm going to fold it in half again because we're trying to find the center. Now, you'll still, even though you've pressed out these lines, they're very, very faint. I can still see them and I can still see them along the edge here, okay? So I'll be able to still, I can follow the line all the way across here. And I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but you will at home. And now I've got to get it lined up here. So there's a line there and I can faintly see it all the way through here. I've got it where I want it. Look good? Okay. And then I'm just going to press. And I'm going to hold the iron there for about 10 seconds. I kind of sometimes will lift it up and then put it back down again. And this is, you can use this heat and bond. And again, I like the medium weight because when you flip things right side out, it doesn't tear as easily as the lighter version. But you can do this for all kinds of shapes. You could go on the internet and you could print out a heart, okay? Just print out a heart, PDF, cut the heart out, and do this exact same process with a heart or with a star or, you know, whatever shape you want, and use the same process for any kind of shape. And then you can applique these. You could applique these on top of any kind of block, or if this was just plain fabric that was like a solid, you could applique whatever shape on top of those. So, and it just makes it clean here, which is really, really, really nice. Okay, so now home stretch, we are going to applique this down, and I'm going to use, we'll see what stitch I'm going to use here. Okay. I'm at an hour and a half. My husband just told me, good grief. Are y'all hanging with me? How many people we still have here? 90? Okay, 28 watchers. All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for those of you that are still hanging here with me. So what has to happen now is I have to take off this plate because I'm going to be, oh, well, actually, you know what? I do have this plate on here. I thought I had my straight stitch plate. I don't. So that'll actually save us some time that I don't have to swap this plate out. What I am going to do though is I'm going to swap out the foot to put my applique foot on. So let's get it here. Let's find that foot. There it is. And that way I can see what I'm doing with my stitches. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to use, on this machine, I'm able to scroll over. And again, another time I'll have a camera viewer when I'm just talking about this machine that you all can see that. I'm going to go over to an applique stitch. This one is actually stitch 306 on this one, and I'm going to increase the stitch length to, I think, 3.8. All right, I'm going to put the needle down. This is going to lock stitch for me. And it takes 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then over. And then I'm just gonna, what'll happen is when I lift up, this will lift up whenever I pivot. Can y'all see that pretty good? Do I need to zoom in? And I'm turning, so this automatically lifted it up when I pivoted, which is nice. And then, huh? View's good? Okay, good. And so I'm just gonna gently, and I kind of have to go a little slow because I don't like whenever the thread shows, but you know, who's perfect? That happens sometimes. We're just gonna stitch around. And I'm just pivoting. So you may want to, you don't have to use one of these stitches. You actually literally could just stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around if you wanted to. But I do kind of like this stitch. I've been practicing with some of the ones that are on here and giving them a try. And you're just going to stitch this down. I mean, it's that simple, but that glue keeps everything in place because with the heat and bond, because if you didn't have that, this flower would probably want to shift more, but not to mention you would have all these probably raw edges unless you just used fabric as your backing to these, which I guess you could, but I think the heat and bond just makes it a much easier process. Okay, we got any questions so far? Still here in the UK, although I have some housework soon before bed. Oh, I'm so glad, Denise, you joined me all the way from the UK. That really means a lot. Thank you so much for joining. You're on a completely different time frame. I don't know, Quilt Husband, if people wrote in there the time of the day. So Mondays are going to be at 7, Fridays at 1. What do you think the other day of the week should be? Not as many people voted for Wednesday because I was thinking I would do Wednesdays at like 11, but I didn't have as many people that voted for that. So I know I can't please everybody, but I was trying to capture like different times so that if some people can't join along, some days they can others. For those of you that may have missed it, Monday is going to be the rope bowl. I'm going to show you how to make. I've been having quite a bit of fun making those. I'm going to actually be taking some to our art gallery. I have some of my wall quilts that I've made there for sale. And I'm going to take some of the rope bowls and see about selling some of those because I don't think we need about 20 rope bowls here at the house, but they are fun to make. And you can use your fabric scraps too on those. Okay, great question. So this is an 18-inch block. And if y'all know me or you've been following me for a while, I like big blocks. That means that I finish the quilt usually faster because there's not as many blocks. So I think in my patterns, the smallest block you'll ever see is 9 inches, but most of mine are anywhere from like 12 to, this is the largest one so far, 18. But I would say somewhere around 12 to 14 are my typical size. So this one that I'm making right now, oops, I got off there a little bit, is this is the square version. So this pattern comes in 4 sizes. It comes in a rectangle version that has 12 of these blocks. You can do the small lap, that's what this one is that I'm working on. And it has 9. The baby size has 4. And then the tote, which I'm gonna show you as soon as I'm done with this, it was hanging at QuiltCon. I'll show it to you. And then I'll show you the full quilt of the largest size as well, so you can see those. There's the tote, which is just the 1 block. So I have already made 2 totes out of one of these blocks. And it's just darling. I love it so much. So the story behind this quilt, just so you know, I should have mentioned that. There's a meaning behind it. Friendship Blooms is really dedicated to all the friendships we make in the quilty world. So this little flower and this block is part of my retreat center logo. And my slogan is make lovely things. And you know, whether we're together virtually or we're at quilt shows or on social media, you know, sometimes this can be a little isolating. I don't have really any friends my age that quilt that I know of at all. And so a lot of my friends are a lot older that quilt, and I've made some beautiful friendships. One, she's my friend from high school. It's her mom, and she doesn't quilt, but her mom does. And so it's just a dedication to all the friendships that bloom and grow around this beautiful craft. And so that's really what Friendship Blooms is about to me. And so it is a replication of the sticker I have that says make lovely things. And it's the same sticker that, I don't know if you can see it back here, probably not on my sewing machine. I'll show you one in a minute. But it's this block. It's the block here on my sticker there. You can see there. All right. Okay, we have stitched this down. Yay us. Yay me for getting through this without messing anything up. Okay, here we go. And I'm just going to trim the thread there. And there we go. I'll move this over. And that is our Friendship Blooms block. I'll probably give it one more press before I put it up on the wall. So let me show you the tote bag here so you can see this in a tote. So this is the original. This is the color palette I used to make my original Friendship Blooms here. And oh, thanks, Susan. And thanks for ordering my pattern. There is a code today. So when you go to my website, if you use the code YouTube, spell it out, Y-O-U-T-U-B-E, it's 20% off the pattern for those of you that want to buy it. I am going to give one away at the end of the show. So Susan, you might want to wait till the end of the show. I'm almost finished here. We'll do a drawing for the 2 yards of thermal web, the applique scissors, and also the pattern itself. So I used my Baby Lock Sashiko on this. So these stitches, yeah, they look like I hand stitched all this. I did not. This is a special machine that only does this one stitch. And it's because I don't have time to hand stitch, but I love the look of a hand stitch. And then I used my little embroidery machine to embroider the Friendship Blooms block on here. And that's my slogan, make lovely things. Now, I'll do a front-facing view here in a minute, and I'll have Quilt Husband take out this quilt. Babe, will you take this quilt out of here? Then I'm going to show you the full pattern, or the full quilt here in a second. Okay, so here's our block. That's it. This is 18 inches. That's kind of the whole process for one of these. And again, you can do any of the 4 sizes. I'll show those to you here so you can kind of take a look at those. This is the square version here, which is what I'm working on right now. And this is the scrappy version of that. You've got your baby size, which is the 4 blocks, and it has sashing in between. So there is some sashing and some cornerstones. Now, I'm not a big sashing girl unless the sashing is the same color as the background. That's just my personal preference there. And then the largest one is the rectangle version. And I think I mentioned Maria, hers is she's got a beautiful purple one on my website if you want to see. So that's it there. Okay, I'm going to show you the quilt. So Quilt Husband's going to hold this with me so you can actually see it. This is the large rectangle version. You'll have to come all over here. It's okay if they see you. I don't know if you can see it, but this is Friendship Blooms. It'll be hanging in the Thermo Web booth at H&H Americas, which is a quilt trade show, but that is it. And then the back are these fun little dandelions is the backing. This is wide back from Benartex that I used. And my friend Tia Curtis, she is a long arm quilter. She did the quilting for me. So let's see if you can see that up close. Some of the quilting there. It's little flowers, look, little daisies on there. And so that is Friendship Blooms. All right. Well, friends, it was an hour and a half instead of 1 hour. Now I know about how long it takes to do this live with people rather than when it's just me here by myself. So thank you for those of you that have stayed here with me. So I'm going to pick a winner here for the giveaway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to pick a number between how many people we have on right now, because it's only going to be available for those that have stayed to the end. We got 30 people. All right, 30 people are on. So I want you to pick a number between 1 and 30, right? And I'm going to write a number down over here on the side. And I want you to put it in chat. Okay. And we'll see who gets the closest or gets the number first. Huh? If it's a tie. Ooh, if it's a tie. I don't know if it's a tie. This is all new to me. We'll see if the first person that gets it. Mm-hmm. We're watching the chat. So far, nobody's got it. Watching the chat. Still waiting. Nobody's gotten it yet. I'm going to have to come up with someone said there's like a wheel spinner system that I can tap into and it'll pull out y'all's names and do that. So I hope to have that ready for Monday. Still, nope. Still don't have the number. So between one. Oh, yep. Alice Matthews. It was 13. Okay, so 13. We can see it over there. 13's the number. So Alice Matthews, congratulations, Alice. Alice, if you would actually just pop in your, if you don't mind, your email address, and I will email you and get your address for Thermo Web. Thank you to Thermo Web, our sponsors today, for the 2.5 yards so that you can make this. You're also going to get the scissors, and then you're also going to get my pattern. And so the Thermo Web will come directly from them, and the pattern and the scissors will come from me. So thank you, Thermo Web, and congratulations, Alice. Yay! I know. Isn't it fun to win something? Sometimes I do things, I'm like, I never win. And you know what? I quit saying that, and I started winning sometimes. So you just never know. You just never know. Okay, quilty friends. Well, thank you for being with me on the live show. If you have any feedback, feel free to reach out to me and give it to me for the very first time. I was a little nervous today, but I think it went fairly decent, and I'll get a little bit better as I go along and things go quicker. So for those of you that want to join me again, I'll be doing another live on Monday. Let me show the overhead here of the rope bowl. And this is a lot of fun. You can get addicted to these. You can do coasters. You can do planters for your plants. And I was shocked at how easy it was to make these. So now I'm a little addicted to these. So if you want to look, you can go actually right now, if you go down to the description box or go to my channel and click the lives. All of my lives will be posted there, as well as future lives that I kind of schedule. So, oh, it's okay. Those of you that join late, this will be posted as a replay, so you can always watch it later. But if you want to join me Monday at 7, we'll be doing the rope bowl, and I'll show you how to make those. Okay. Yeah. So I think that is about everything, friends. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Thermo Web. Thanks for all your feedback, everyone. And I'm going to practice the button for the closing jingle on this, okay? We didn't do the be right back jingle. That's like if we need to go to the restroom or something like that. but I think all of those work. But anyway, I'm going to close this out and I'll see you all Monday. And thank you again for being here with me for the launch of my very first live. Even though I've had this channel for a while, I thought this is the best way to be together and build a community, because I really do love people and I really love doing all of the quilty things. So until next time, quilty friends, make lovely things.